Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Bacon. Welcome to the show, y'all. The quiet act of a broken man picking up a telephone was a declaration of war on a world he had helped to create. Pop sat in the back room of his barbershop. The ghost of his friend smoothed a heavy presence, and he waited. He had broken the one and only code he had ever lived by. He had talked to the police, and he knew that there was no coming back from that. The police found K-Dog a day later holed up in his girlfriend's apartment, a scared and cornered animal. He didn't fight. He didn't run. He just gave up. The weight of what he had done, the ghost of smooth, surprised eyes, was a sentence heavier than any a judge could hand down. The trial was a quiet and somber affair. K-Dog pled guilty. He stood before the judge, a boy drowning in a man's clothes, and he wept. He told the story of his own and stupid and fragile pride. He told the story of a game that had turned into a grave. The judge, a man who had seen it all, saw not a monster but a child of the streets, of a violence, of a world that had failed him. But the law is a cold and unemotional thing. A man was dead and a price had to be paid. He sentenced K-Dog to 30 years, a lifetime, for a moment of a madness. Pops was there in the back of the courtroom. He watched as they led the boy away, and he felt no sense of a victory, just a profound and weary and heartbreaking sadness. 2 lives shattered, one in a grave, one in a cage, and for what? For a handful of a pride, for the empty and tragic and ultimately meaningless rules of a game that has no winners. After the trial, Pops became a ghost in his own life. He sold the barbershop, the place of a brotherhood and a bloodshed. He retreated into a quiet and solitary existence. He was a king who had abdicated his throne, a man who had lost his friend, his world, his own, and fragile sense of a self. The streets knew what he had done. The whispers followed him. Snitch. The word was a brand, a permanent stain on his soul. He had done the right thing, but he had done it in a world that had no room for that kind of a right. He was a man caught between 2 worlds, the world of his own, and quiet and hard-won conscience, and the world of the street code, the one he had lived by his whole life. In the space between those 2 worlds was a quiet and lonely and unforgiving kind of a hell. Life in a cage is a slow and grinding education in the art of a regret. For K-Dog, the 30-year sentence was a lifetime to sit with the ghost of the one and stupid and fatal mistake he had made. He was a boy who had become a man in a world of a concrete and a steel. And the hot and reckless anger that had led him to pull that trigger had cooled over the years, leaving only a cold and gray and empty ash of a profound and unending remorse. He thought about Smooth every day. He thought about the laughter, the easy charm, the life he had extinguished for a handful of wounded pride. He saw him in his dreams, not as a rival, but as a man, a husband, a father. The guilt was a life sentence of its own, a cell within a cell. He also thought about Pops, the old man who had tried to warn him, who had tried to save him from himself. He had been too young, too full of a false pride to listen. And now he would spend a lifetime listening to the echo of his own in fatal foolishness. He wrote him a letter once after 10 years inside, a long and rambling and profoundly honest letter. He didn't make excuses. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He just confessed. He told the story of his own and broken and misguided heart. The letter came back unopened, stamped returned to sender. Pops was a ghost now too, a man who had disappeared back into the quiet and lonely world of his own and personal grief. The silence from the old man was a judgment and a punishment more profound than any a judge could hand down. K-Dog did his time. He learned a trade in the prison's auto shop. He got his GED. He became a man who was trying in his own and quiet and desperate way to be better than the boy he had been. He was a man on a long and slow and painful journey of self-discovery, a journey that was being made in the heart of a darkness with the dim and flickering and almost non-existent light of his own and fragile hope as his only guide. And Pops on the outside was on a journey of his own. He had sold his barber shop. He had walked away from the world that had taken his friend. He was just an old man now, living in a small and quiet apartment, his only companions the ghosts of his own, and happy past. He played chess in the park, a solitary king in a kingdom of a quiet and profound and unending grief. He had found a quiet and simple and profoundly lonely kind of a peace. But it was a peace that was built on a foundation of a profound and unending loss. A loss of a friend, a loss of a world, a loss of a self. Two men, a killer and a witness, on two separate and parallel and equally lonely paths of a quiet and profound and unending atonement. After 20 years, K-Dog was released on parole. He walked out of those gates a different man. The boy who had gone in was a ghost. In his place was a quiet and thoughtful and profoundly and permanently sad man. He was in his 40s now, a man who had spent more of his life in a cage than out of it. The world he walked into was a strange and alien place. The neighborhood was different. The faces were different. The game was different. He was a ghost, a phantom, a man out of time. He found a job as a mechanic, using the trade he had learned on the inside. He found a room in a rundown boarding house. He built a small and quiet and solitary life for himself, a life of a penance, a life of a quiet and profound and unending amends. He went to look for Pops. He needed to see him. He needed to talk to him. He needed to apologize in person. He found him in a quiet and forgotten corner of the city, an old man sitting on a park bench playing a game of a solitary chess. K-Dog sat down on the bench next to him. Pops looked at him, his old and weary eyes slowly and quietly, recognizing the face of the boy who had, a lifetime ago, destroyed his world. There were no words of an anger, of an accusation, just a quiet and profound and weary sadness. "You're out," Pop said, his voice a low and raspy whisper. "I am," K-Dog said. "I'm sorry, Pops," he said, the words a raw and honest and heartbreaking thing. "I know it don't mean nothing." "But I'm sorry," Pops just nodded. "I know, son," he said, "I know." And in that one and quiet and simple and beautiful moment, a lifetime of a pain and a grief and a rage was just washed away. It wasn't a forgiveness, it was something more. It was a grace. The final chapter of this story is a quiet one. It is the story of two old men sitting on a park bench playing a game of dominoes, Pops and K-Dog, a killer and the best friend of the man he had killed. It was a strange and unlikely and beautiful friendship. A friendship that had been forged in the fires of a shared and tragic history. A friendship that was a testament to the power of a forgiveness, of a grace, and of the quiet and mysterious and unbreakable resilience of the human heart. They didn't talk much about the past. They didn't have to. It was always there, a silent and acknowledged presence between them. They just were. Two survivors who had found a strange and unexpected and profound kind of a family in the ruins of their own and broken lives. And it's a reminder that a life is not defined by its worst moment. It is defined by what we do after, the amends we make, the healing we seek, the love we give. K-Dog had taken a life, but he had also, in his own and quiet and profound way, saved his own. And in that there is a lesson for us all, that the human heart is a resilient and mysterious thing. It can be broken, it can be shattered, but it can also heal. It can learn to forgive, it can learn to love again. And that in the end is the only victory that truly matters. The quiet and hard-won and profoundly beautiful victory of the human spirit. And so we come to the end of the line, the story of a game and of a grave and of a grace, a story that shows you that the most dangerous weapon in the world is not a gun, but a moment of a simple and stupid pride. K-Dog was not a monster. He was a kid who was chasing a dream that the streets had sold him. And he paid for that dream with a lifetime. Pops was not a hero. He was a man who had lived his life in the shadows and who, in the end, was forced to walk into the light. This story is a tragedy, but it is also a story of a profound and unexpected hope. The hope that it is never too late. It is never too late to change, to grow, to heal. It is never too late to forgive. And it is never too late to find your way back home, even if home is just a quiet and peaceful and forgiving game of dominoes on a park bench with a friend. The dominoes are just pieces of a plastic. But the game is a beautiful and complicated and profound metaphor for a life of choices, of a consequences, and of a quiet and profound and ultimately unbreakable human connection. A connection that is stronger than any prison, any code, any gun, a connection that can, in the end, save us all. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.
I'm getting so